Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Change Your Mind podcast, where we explore personal development, spirituality, and science. I'm your host, Chris Ashley, and I'm really excited for my interview today. We have with us a divorce attorney. So we're going to talk a lot about the mindset behind divorce, the mindset, like how it affects kids, the mental health around everything. So it'll be an interesting conversation, one that we haven't done yet. First, couple quick announcements. Head over to the links in the show notes. You're going to find a lot there. You'll find updates on all my projects, ways to connect with me, ways to connect with my lovely guest, ways to sponsor the podcast. Let's see, you'll find a link to my book, Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality. It was endorsed by Michael Beckwith, Marcy Shimoff, Bob Doyle, Anita Morjani, John Gray, Bob Frissell, like lots of really cool people. Somehow I was blessed by that. Go check it out. It's in paperback, ebook, audiobook. And as always, this podcast is part of the Los Angeles Tribune Podcast Network. We are doing amazing things in personal development. We have events pretty much once a month at this point, both in person and virtual. So come join us, see what we're doing. Come hang out, be a part of it. What if the one thing keeping you stuck is the way you think? Welcome to Change Your Mind with Chris Ashley, the podcast where science meets spirituality and mindset becomes your most powerful tool for transformation. I'm Chris Ashley, author of Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality, trainer, speaker, and lifelong seeker. For years, I battled trauma, depression, anger, chronic illness, low self-worth, and the weight of old stories. Until I discovered how to rewire my mind, reconnect with my divine nature, and consciously create a new reality from the inside out. This show is here to help you do the same. Each week, we explore the intersection of personal development, spirituality, and science, diving into topics like healing, emotional mastery, entrepreneurship, resilience, and the quantum nature of reality. You'll hear powerful stories, gain practical tools, and real conversations that will help you change your perspective, get unshakable confidence, and live the vision your soul has always known is possible. Whether you're navigating a major life shift, building your dream business, or seeking deep healing and alignment, you're in the right place. So if you're ready to break through, take back your power, and create a life on your terms, this is your moment. Let's break free from the patterns that hold us back, awaken to who we truly are, and rise. Your transformation starts now. All right, with me today, I have Rhonda Crabtree. So Rhonda is one of the top family and divorce attorneys in the country who is based just outside of Nashville. She has over 20 years experience practicing law, and prior to having her own practice, she worked in the mental health space. She is also a mother, grandmother, and is all about giving advice to people and helping them out no matter what. I love it. Welcome, Rhonda.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited you're here. So I always start my episodes off the same way, and that is by asking my guest, what is their origin story? So what is it that made you want to go into mental health? And then what is it that made you want to switch to become a divorce attorney?
Well, I actually always wanted to be a divorce attorney. I wanted to be able to advocate for people, and I found that I did that in mental health as well. That's what I enjoy doing, is being able to be the voice for people that I feel are not being heard or are unable to articulate what their needs are or what their case is.
Where do you think that stems from, that desire to advocate for people?
Well, I just found people when I was a little girl. I met a family. I met some kids that were in a foster care situation, and they weren't being taken care of by their foster parents. So I felt like they needed somebody to step up and to advocate for them and tell the people that were paying the bills that shouldn't be going on, that those kids had needs and those people were just taking the money and not taking care of them.
That's really horrible, especially like seeing that as a kid when you're so powerless yourself. Obviously that had a lasting impact. Did they end up being okay?
They're okay as far as I know. Of course, it's been quite a few years since I was a kid. So, but they were fine in this situation. It was, the situation was a minimal caregiving situation. So they got enough to survive till they were adults, but I just felt like things should have been handled differently.
As a mother of a young child, that really hurts my heart.
Yeah.
It's like, it's very hard to just hear about anyone doing anything bad to a kid.
Yeah.
Like, they're just so innocent and pure and just worthy of love,
Yeah.
deserving
With,
of love. Adults are too, but there's something about kids, right?
right. When I'm in court and I hear somebody trying to advocate for themselves, and not have counsel or not have someone else, it just bothers me deeply to see that happen, because I know that if they knew how to communicate to the court and communicate their needs, that they may get a different result. And I found that when I worked in mental health. When I worked in mental health, there was a young lady one time that she was probably about 20. And she kept going to the doctors and kept going to the doctors, and they thought that she was a drug addict and that she was seeking pain medicine. But I kept on advocating for her and insisted she go to the doctor, and she wound up having a severe medical condition that was causing fluid to back up on her brain. And because I was at that time a case manager for adult mentally ill, I was able to keep on pushing and showing them that she was not a drug addict. She was not seeking pain medicine. She was seeking a cure, something to fix what was wrong. And if she had not got treatment when she did, she would have been blind. So it was really a very needy situation.
That's so infuriating. And I feel like you hear so many stories of that, with just trying to seek medical care and having to really advocate for yourself, and doctors brushing people aside, and especially women, right? So
Yeah.
much gets even said to, like, oh, it's in your head, or it's stress, right?
Right.
When there's very real things happening. So let's talk a little bit about divorce. Like, from what you've seen, what is the mindset around divorce, right? Like, when people come in, what is their mindset? When they're done, what is their mindset? Like, how does that change them?
Well, when they come in, people are all at different stages. And I always explain to them, some people come in and they're only thinking of the good times. Some people come in, they're only thinking of the bad times, and they're not looking at the facts. When you're getting a divorce, as far as my job goes, my main job is to make sure that they get what they deserve. Because one time I had a woman come in. I started to say young lady, but she was about 60, and she just wanted to give everything to her husband. And I'm like, you realize that you are going to be retiring in a few years and you're going to need money. You can't. And she had been working minimal jobs and she didn't have a retirement base. I mean, I needed to be able to advocate for her, but also advocate to her about what her needs were going to be in the future. And then I have the family that comes in with children. Some people have a strong tendency, it's my child, and they forget that the other person also has rights to their child. And I need to explain to them and encourage them to see it from both ways, because if we don't do that, our children are going to be messed up. Children need both parents. If that parent is healthy and able to care for them, then they need those both people in their life, or they're going to be screwed up adults.
Yeah, they really do. Why do you think most people get divorced?
I think they quit talking to each other. I can tell you that recently I had a man come into my office, and they had been married 30 something years. Wow. And he was in tears, and he said, we don't talk anymore. We don't hate each other. We don't argue. There's no reason for us to be married. And I said, I couldn't help myself. I said, well, could you start talking to each other? Could you start doing these things and try to fix 30 something years of togetherness? Because people don't think about the fact that once you sever that, then if you get somebody new in your life, you're not going to have somebody that was there when your children are born. If you have children, you're not going to have somebody that was there to see your child's first steps, that you're not going to have that person that experienced that first apartment. You're not going to have those things. And they don't realize what having somebody in your life that has all those memories with you means, and how it affects you personally. Yes, there's lots of people that need a divorce. They're in abusive relationships. Their spouse cheats on them all the time, those kind of things. But they just need to work on the marriage. I recently told someone that if you worked on your marriage, let me rephrase that. If you went to work and worked the way you work on your marriage, would you still have a job? Because people don't think about the fact they've got to work on their marriage as much as they work on everything else.
Yeah, I mean, that was like making me tear up a little bit, like having that person that's like gone through so much with you and so much growth, right? Seeing you through so many ups and downs and challenges and triumphs, and was there through it all. That's like a very meaningful relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And you grow together. I mean, yes, sometimes you grow apart because that other person may have interests that you don't have, but you can work around that. I mean, when someone is dating, they all of a sudden become very interested in sports, or they become very interested in poodles or whatever it is. They get interested in the things the other person is interested in. But when they've been together for an extended period of time, they forget that they need to continue to be interested to some degree in what the other person is interested in to keep that relationship going.
So how do people fall back in love with each other?
My way of thinking about it, I encourage people to touch, that, and I mean, that's the counselor in me, because I have 2 graduate degrees in mental health, and then I worked in it as well. My thing is to encourage them to touch. I've encouraged the people to touch 30 minutes a day. And I've been asked, is it okay if all we do is lay our head? The woman asked, can I lay my head on his lap while we watch TV? Yes, do that. People don't realize when you're dating, you're touching all the time. You hold hands, you give hugs, all of that. But the longer you're married, you have a tendency to get out of that and quit doing that. You don't kiss each other goodbye. You don't, just lay your hand on their shoulder. You don't do those little things that you did while you were dating, and you need to get back to it.
I love that so much. Because at the end of the day, people want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be wanted, right?
Right.
And recognized, and touch is such a great way of doing that. And like even those little innocent touches, like your head on your lap, like that can spark something, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really
I
cool.
had a pastor one time, actually, when my husband and I got married. Another thing that he brought up was we have to realize how we're talking to the other person, because a lot of time we're talking at them or talking to them as if they're a child, instead of stepping back and seeing it from their perspective. When they do something that aggravates us, or they upset us, to make sure that they understand we're hearing them, that we just don't talk to them as if they were a child. We're not their boss.
Yeah, or their parent.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So have you had clients come to you and you've had these kind of conversations where you're like, well, why don't you work on the marriage? Why don't you try talking and have them resolve their issues?
Yes, I have had clients that reconcile, and it makes me feel very good. And people I know that have reconciled after these conversations. And I remind myself daily in my own marriage, that's just a big thing. My husband will get on my nerves, but that's not a reason to just walk out the door. We have fun together. We make little silly things fun.
Yeah. A lot of times, like I hear I see all over like Instagram and stuff, like marriage is a lot of work or relationships are a lot of work. And I've been with my husband 14 years and I honestly have never felt that way.
That's wonderful.
There's just like a lot of ease there. So like is is there that idea that like when you're with the right person it shouldn't feel like work? Or I'm sure like all relationships like have their ups and downs, like totally, I'm not denying that, but like
Right.
overall, if there's this sense of like constant work, does that mean you're with the wrong person? Or does it, like, what does that mean?
Well, I personally believe sometimes it is because you're with the wrong person, but I believe that it's your mindset. It's just
Mm.
like I said, my husband sometimes gets on my nerves. Well, I have to realize that that moment isn't the end of the world and go back to the things that make me happy. So if I only thought of the ways he drives me nuts, then we would have a terrible marriage. But instead, I think and encourage the things that we enjoy and that make our marriage good.
That's such a good point because people act the way that you expect them to,
Yeah.
first of all, right? It's literally like quantum physics, the law of attraction, all of that, right? Like if you're seeing the negative side of someone, that's what you're going to keep getting. Um, but also like there's so many ways to view someone. So I teach a lot about forgiveness, and this is how one of the ways I teach forgiveness. It's like you might have turned this person into a monster in your mind because you're looking at them through this lens, but like how do the people who love them, like how do they see them, right? Like what good have they done for the world? What good have they done for other people? So there's always different facets of someone.
Go back to that old thing where people said, count your blessings. Well, it goes for that for a relationship too. Look at the things that they do that are right and encourage those things. If we are always telling them what they've done wrong, or always told them what they've not done at all, then we're not encouraging the positives. It's just like with the child, and you don't want to treat your spouse like a child or a relationship like they're a child. But when you're encouraging good behavior with your child, um, if you're yelling at them all the time and calling them bad names like you're bad or you're a brat or any of those things, then we're pulling them down and they're going to act the way we encourage them to act.
Exactly, because no one wants to be treated like that. And eventually they get to a point where it's like, all right, you're going to call me lazy or whatever. Like, I'm just going to be that way, right? Because you're making me think of like gratitude too. Like listing out the things that you're grateful for would be like a really great exercise, right?
Yes,
In your
absolutely.
person. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And letting them know that. See, so many times we'll tell somebody at work or a friend or something, oh, my husband did this for me today, or he cooked dinner last night or something, but we forget to tell our spouse and let them know that we're grateful that they cooked dinner and that we told others. They want to know that we're not just complaining about them, that we're telling other people that they are doing these things. That makes them feel good about themselves. But if they feel like all we're doing is telling them, oh, my husband didn't take out the trash last night, and those things, or my wife didn't pick up what I wanted from the grocery store. She forgot everything I wanted. She must not care about me. Those kind of things. If we're saying those kind of things and they feel like that's all we're saying, then we're not encouraging the positive things that they are doing.
Can I just say, I feel pretty strongly about this. You should never be talking about your marriage with other people.
I
Like, just
understand.
period. I actually have a neighbor, and it was like the first time I met her. She sat down at the table. We were at a barbecue at my other neighbor's house. She sat down at the table with me and a couple women, and just immediately started just like trash talking her husband, who was like 15 feet away, and it was so
Oh,
appalling.
wow. In
It was
front
so
of
appalling.
him, even.
I mean, he
Yeah.
was like earshot. But
Now, the only time it could be a positive thing is if you're talking to somebody that will confront you about what you're doing and tell you and encourage you to not do those things. But most people don't. I give an example, and it's a terrible example, but it's the best one I can come up with is if a guy goes to work every day and says, tells what his wife did, and his coworkers say, well, I would beat the blankety blank out of my wife if she did that, then a lot of them will go home and do that. And it's because that's what's being reinforced, and they're told that's what people do. And so, if somebody is bad mouthing their spouse and the other person bad mouths their spouse, then they think that's normal. And it should be the other way around. We should be encouraging each other to think of the positive things instead of all the negatives.
Right. And like the way I see it is it's like you and your person are a team, right?
Absolutely.
It's like you versus the world. Like that's how it is with my husband. It's like we have each other's back no matter what. Like I could
Wonderful.
never imagine even like calling up a best friend and like complaining about him. Like that's just like so far out of my realm of what's normal. It just blows my mind. And I imagine there's a decent amount of people who do that, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think there's too many that do that. I think that society talks badly about our spouses rather than telling people the good things about our spouses.
I wonder if that's also because like people don't want to like brag, right? Like, because you never know what's going on in someone else's relationship. Like, you don't want to be like, I got this amazing day for Mother's Day, and like where the whole day was planned out, and I got a massage. Like, you don't know. You don't want to like make anyone feel bad, right? So I can understand a little bit. Man, I don't know.
And if society would change and become excuse me, become the society where it's encouraged to tell the positive things instead. I think see so many people go to work and hear the negatives about the other people's spouses, they don't want to tell the positives about theirs because, like you said, it sounds like they're bragging, but they feel like it's wrong to say something positive instead of the opposite.
Yeah, that makes sense. I forget his name. There is this like very famous divorce lawyer on TikTok. He's really great. He's like very viral.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things he said is he's like, I can immediately tell when a couple is gonna get divorced, even if it's like years down the road, by like one sign, and that is that they roll their eyes at each other. And I'm curious what your thoughts on that are.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah, I've never thought about that. I'd have to think on it. I'm trying to picture a couple that I know that does that, but that is just so rude. I mean, you just can't do it. I mean, but I just don't think we respect I don't think we respect our spouses or other people as much as we should. I think it's encouraged for people to be rude. And so that boils over into our relationships. I really do. It's sad.
Yeah, it's rude and it's disrespectful and it's
Yeah.
totally just blowing them off. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever they have to
Well,
say, their opinions. I'm trying
so
to think
if
of
you
what that
think about to the vows we usually say when we get married, love, honor, and whether you use the word obey or whatever it is, but honoring your spouse is not talking poorly about them and saying things that are rude and encouraging other people to think those things about them is just wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you ever had anyone that has gotten divorced that was a client that regretted it and tried to like reconcile after?
I have had clients try to reconcile after. I've known of people that have gotten remarried, but I don't oftentimes see my clients after they are after a case is over. They usually move on, and I'm not on their minds very often.
So when you represent people, do you typically represent the person who's initiating the divorce or the person who was served the divorce papers?
About equal. I have
Okay.
people that have been served, and I have often had people that come in that says their spouse has told them they want a divorce and they're wanting to know what their rights are, what they should be doing, and those things. So a lot of times no papers have been filed yet.
So, do you think that most people should end up staying together?
The problem is in this day and time, people are making themselves miserable. They are forgetting why they're married, and what they liked about that person. So when they stay together, when they make themselves stay together, they're really making the other person miserable and making themselves miserable. And I hate that. I don't, and I tell people I'm not here to get you, to help you get a divorce or make you get a divorce. I'm here to help you through the process. My job is to make sure they get what they're entitled to, that they're treated fairly, and that we get through the process. It's the divorce is just a fact that we're doing. Because I do think that most people could work it out if they just took a moment.
Yeah, so it's like an impulsive thing. And like we've kind of been talking about, things have probably been like piling on top of each other and like reached a boiling point, right? And
Right.
you're like, it's easier to just walk away at this point.
Yeah.
And of course, like listeners, this is not talking about people who are like in abusive situations.
Oh, no, no, never.
Yeah. Uh, it's just, it seems like it would take such a big toll on your mental health going through that whole process.
Oh,
You,
and I tell people, like I said at the very beginning, you think of the good times, you think only of the bad times. And sometimes that's within 5 minutes of each other. So you really have to step back and not make an impulsive decision while you're only thinking about those two different times, and make sure you're making the decision for the right reasons. Because they can get physically sick during the process. They can definitely get mentally sick. They make stupid decisions like jumping from one relationship into another while the process is going on. And that person will look like just the best thing since pumpkin pie, but they're not realizing that they're going into it with from the wrong viewpoint. They're comparing them to their spouse, and while their spouse may not have been the best person in the world, they may not have been the worst person either. This person can, the old adage, the grass looks greener on the other side of the fence.
right. It's like that person's still probably going to be like asking you to take the trash out. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. When you get in the house, they're going to come home grumpy from work. They're going to kick the cat. They're going to,
okay, we don't
you
hurt
know,
animals, so hopefully they're
no,
not
I
kicking the
mean,
cat.
but I mean, they're going to do things that are going to upset you. I don't want anybody that kicks a cat. We don't have cats, but
No cat
but
kickers.
I should have said it that way. But the whole point is they're not going to be perfect either, and so don't think that just getting into new relationships is going to make everything better.
There's that kind of like cliche saying that, like, let me just think about how it goes. It's like you shouldn't, until you're like truly loving yourself and healed, like you shouldn't get into a relationship. Do you think that's true or not?
Absolutely, because you need to really take time and figure out why you got a divorce. If you're because it may have been you. You need to remember you don't need to go and mess up another relationship because you didn't take the time to figure out what caused that divorce and to accept responsibility for your part in it, because so many people want to blame it on the other side only and not look at what they could have done differently.
I think that's a really good point. It's so easy to play the victim and to blame other people for everything that goes wrong. But divorce is a two-person thing, or marriage is a two-person thing. I mean, like,
Absolutely.
it takes two people. Even if one did something terrible, like cheat, it still takes two people to have gotten to that point, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, because not everybody that cheats was, there are people that were caused to cheat by the way they were treated by someone else. So I'm not giving them that excuse. It's just a fact. And so the spouse needs to look at, what did I do that led to them to this? And it may not have been anything. There are people that are just going to cheat, and that's just a fact. But if you had an impact in that, then you need to recognize it before you get into a new relationship.
Yeah, I would imagine that most people who are in happy, healthy relationships aren't going to cheat.
Oh, absolutely. I agree
Yeah.
100%. But I also think that you have to um, watch what interactions you have with somebody whether it be male or female. I do think that people put themselves in the wrong situations and sometimes cause it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Without like intention too.
Absolutely.
What percentage of the population gets a divorce these days?
I don't know that answer. I'm sorry. I know I'm a divorce attorney, but
I'm gonna I'm
I,
gonna I'm gonna ask ChatGPT right now
this is
because I'm
good.
just curious. Let's see. I just did US population. As of 2024, approximately 43% of marriages in the US end in divorce or dissolution.
Wow. I'm getting close to half.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
But of course,
How
there's a lot
few?
of the population that's been married more than once. So, you know,
Yeah, so divorce rates by marriage order. First marriages, about 41 to 43% end in divorce. Second marriages, 60 to 67% end in divorce. Third marriages, 73 to 75% end in divorce. Factors, the age at marriage. Couples who marry at older ages tend to have lower divorce rates. Higher educational attainment is associated with lower divorce rates. Higher income levels can reduce financial stress, potentially lowering divorce risk. Some studies suggest that living together before marriage may affect divorce rates, but yeah, interesting. That's
yeah, but
crazy.
you have all the people that live together and then split up and aren't included in the divorce rates. So,
Right. Yep, I've had one of those. Which I think you should live together first, right? Because you want to, and you should vacation together first, right?
well, vacationing together, I can see because seeing your spouse or your future spouse around other people impacts things a lot.
Yeah, like how do they behave in a restaurant, right?
And in a traffic jam and
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, just thinking back to that idea of like becoming like a healthier version of you and loving yourself before getting into a serious relationship. Like also just like asking yourself like why are you looking for a relationship right now? You know, like I know people who just don't want to be alone, and so
yeah,
and they've had trouble like finding a person, so the first person that like gives them enough attention they go for, even if that's the wrong person.
absolutely. Because people aren't thinking before they marry about having like interests and like to do certain things. Like I said, they all of a sudden get an interest for sports or poodles or whatever the like is, and then they forget that that's not everyday life. And if they're getting into a relationship with somebody that's already got financial problems or legal problems or whatever the problems, they have to realize that becomes their problem. And I don't think they consider that.
Right, because they're so like in love or in lust or whatever those first chemical. You're making me think too, like the people who kind of adopt the hobbies and everything of the other person, eh, and like just change to be the person that that person likes, right? It's like you want someone that's gonna love you for your authentic self, right? Like this is like
Absolutely.
it's like an interview, right? It's like a two-way interview. Like you want them to love you for you, just like you want to love them for you, right? It's like I don't know. So many people go into job interviews like so nervous and so scared. Like, will the company like me? You know, will the person like me? Will I do a good job? But it's like you're interviewing that company just as much as they're interviewing you to see if like that's a
Absolutely.
good fit for you, right? And people don't think about that kind of mindset shift.
They do. I've never thought about it, but when you go on a date with someone, you're thinking about what them liking you, and we're forgetting that you got to like them just as much. And if you don't have a good self-esteem and realize and be willing to walk away, then you could be in a very bad situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it does come down to self-esteem or self-worth for sure. So, what else have we talked about when it comes to mindset and mental health around all of this?
Well, we haven't talked about the children as much.
Mm,
The fact that people need to think when they're getting a divorce that these children they love that their other parent, whether that other parent's got issues or made mistakes or whatever. And talking badly to your children about that other spouse is attacking them because they're part of them in their mind. So that is not a good thing to do. And telling them about the other spouse cheating on you or whatever, when it's a child, if they do side with you, you're going to impact them as an adult.
It's a lot to put on a kid.
Absolutely.
Do you see that a lot where people are like, oh, well, we got divorced because your mom cheated or whatever?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. Regrettably, the majority of the cases, the people talk to the kids about the case and they don't realize that their little immature brains are not prepared for it.
How does that affect kids? Like, they have these little immature brains. Like, how do they take in that information?
Well, I see a lot of kids that get in trouble at school. It affects their grades. It impacts the relationship with the parents on each side, whether it be the one that's talking badly about their parent, because they think they're getting the child on their side. But I see often it makes them angry at that parent for talking badly about their other parent. But then there are the cases where the child sides with that parent and then proceeds to um, they side with them, so they're against the other parent, and that affects that relationship. I recently had a case. It was just very, very sad. Every time the other parent would go into the counseling sessions and say negative things about the other parent in front of the child to the counselor, and I don't know why the counselor allowed it to happen, but they did. And it just ruined that relationship. And I foresee that when they're adults, things will hopefully get better. But our parents are our image of the world. And when we see a male person acting poorly or a female person acting poorly, we have a tendency to believe that that's how that gender works. And it can affect relationships in the future. And that's just a bad way to start a life.
Yeah, that's really well said. You're making me think about how when you were talking about a lot of times it's the parent who is talking bad about the other one that the kid ends up turning on. That's how I feel about people who gossip, right? It's like when people gossip, it doesn't make you like them better. It makes you be like, oh, they're just going to talk shit about me one day too, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, good point.
So is there anything else you wanted to get out there to listeners today?
With children, the big thing is just to remember that child has two parents. And yes, you want to have time with that child, but so does the other parent, and they have have rights too. But the child has needs; they need both parents. And the flip side of that is that parent needs their own time too. If I tell people often, especially women, they'll have a tendency to want to say that they call it first right of refusal. If the other parent's not available, I want to have them. And I understand the premise behind that. And a lot of times it's a really good situation and needs to happen that way. But then they make themselves the other person's babysitter. And that other parent needs to step up and take care of that child as much as the other side does. So it's important that that people allow themselves mental health time, whether it's going out with friends or they don't need to constantly be picking up all the pieces all the time.
I think that's a hard thing to do yes, I totally agree with you, but it's so hard as a parent. Like I just think about like my little 16-month-old. I'm just like, oh, it's so hard knowing like even like when the grandparents watch him for a night, but it's like that release of control for sure.
Yeah. Well, there was lots of nights when my daughters were little that I wound up at the grandparents' house because I couldn't handle them being away. But it is important to have you time. You can be a better parent if you get some relaxation as well.
Yeah, totally. I just think it would also be such a stressful thing if you're divorced and sharing custody, like not knowing what's going on at the other house with your
It is.
kids, especially if there's a new person, a new marriage, new siblings, like you just don't know. Like that's got to be such a stressful thing.
It is, and people need to consider that when they're thinking about getting a divorce,
Mm.
because I tell people you're not going to like it when there's another person on the other side telling your children what to do, or your children are with them and doing all these fun things that you're not getting to do. It's going to impact you mentally. So that's a factor to consider when you're deciding whether to work on your marriage or to move on.
Yeah, all of that. And also, like, they might have a different parenting style,
Oh, absolutely.
which is just, yeah, all of that is very stressful to
I
think
want my
about.
child to go to I want my child to go to bed at 8 o'clock and eat healthy foods. And they're like, "Oh, you want to eat potato chips for dinner? Go right ahead." But it's their house and it's not your decision.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
It would be
All
a
of that.
horrible thing to live through. Luckily, I
Yeah.
never had to do that with my daughters. So
Yeah, I'm never gonna have to do it either. Well, thank you so much for all of your insights. I like how this just really turned into a conversation about, how to have a healthy relationship more than anything. And I think that's really helpful for people. Why don't you take a moment and let people know how they can connect with you?
well, my office is Rhonda Crabtree. It's located in Ashland City, Tennessee at 150 South Main Street. And my phone number is 615-792-2885.
You are the first guest I've ever had on that gave their address and phone number. So
I'm sorry.
no, 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 no. I love it. Well, I mean, I think it's because the business you're in. Most people are like, here's my website, here's my social media. But no, I mean, if you want a divorce lawyer, you want to be able to contact them. So it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Do you work with people outside of Tennessee?
No, I don't. I'm only licensed in the state of Tennessee.
Okay, very cool. All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much. If you are listening, send this to someone you think might need to hear it. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all the things, and I'll see you next week. Have a beautiful rest of your day.